Imagine a world where beauty is a weapon, and a whisper can be deadlier than a dagger. Where behind golden walls of luxury, endless intrigues, betrayals, and a desperate fight for power unfold. What's it like to see everything, to know every secret, yet be invisible to those who decide fates? Step into the hidden world of the Imperial Harem of ancient Rome, as seen through the eyes of one who was at its very heart, but could never partake in its temptations. I witnessed their rises and falls, their passions and their horrors. If you're ready to uncover the most shocking secrets of this forbidden fortress and learn what truly happened behind its closed doors, hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that changed the course of history. Yes. My earliest memories are not of a mother's embrace or a father's strong hand, but of a searing pain, a darkness, and then the cool, detached faces of men who looked at me with a strange blend of pity and surgical precision. I was too young to fully understand what was taken from me, only that a part of my being, essential to other boys, was gone. This sacrifice, they said, opened a different path. It was the path of the eunuch, a life of service, a life of proximity to power without its inherent dangers. I learned to move silently, to observe everything, and to speak only when spoken to. My training was rigorous, focusing on discretion, meticulous care, and an unshakable loyalty. I learned the intricate rituals of the court, the subtle language of the emperor's household, and above all, the unspoken rules of the harem. My arrival at the Imperial Palace felt less like entering a building and more like stepping into a gilded cage, albeit one of immense luxury. The walls were high, the guards numerous, and the air thick with the scent of exotic perfumes and whispered secrets. This was the Forbidden World, a sprawling, secluded domain housing the emperor's vast collection of women, the empress, the imperial concubines of various ranks, the countless palace women, and their personal retinues. My first impressions were overwhelming. The sheer scale was astonishing. Marble courtyards, serene gardens, and opulent chambers stretched as far as the eye could see, each section a microcosm of ambition and quiet despair. There were eunuchs everywhere, of all ages and ranks, each performing their specific duties, from managing household affairs to guarding the innermost sanctums. They were the true custodians of the harem, the silent pillars upon which its entire existence rested. I quickly learned the hierarchy. The empress, of course, held the highest rank, her power subtle but immense. Below her, the concubines were locked in a perpetual silent war for the emperor's favor, each vying for a moment of his attention, hoping to bear him a son, their only true path to lasting security. Then there were the younger girls, mere children sometimes, brought from distant provinces, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and naive hope. My initial duties were humble, but they placed me squarely within the intricate web of this female world. I polished bronzes, arranged silks, attended to the lesser concubines. I was a ghost, almost invisible, yet seeing everything. I saw the jealous glances, the forced smiles, the genuine friendships that blossomed despite the constant tension. I heard the quiet sighs, the desperate prayers, the thinly veiled threats. This was a world of beauty, yes, but also of profound loneliness and relentless competition. And I, the silent, ungendered observer, was now a permanent fixture within its gilded, treacherous confines. The gates of the forbidden world had closed behind me, and my unique education into its deepest secrets had truly begun.
The initial shock of the harem's opulence and its suffocating rules quickly gave way to the rhythm of its daily life. It was a world of meticulous routine, where every hour held a designated activity, designed to maintain order, beauty, and above all, the emperor's pleasure. My days were a blur of duties, arranging the women's silks, preparing their baths with fragrant oils, overseeing their elaborate hairstyles, and ensuring their chambers were always immaculate. We, the eunuchs, were the invisible gears in this gilded machine. The women, however, lived a life of controlled idleness. Their mornings might begin with elaborate grooming, followed by hours spent practicing instruments, perfecting their calligraphy, or engaging in polite yet often superficial conversation. Beneath the veneer of grace and tranquility, a constant, unspoken battle raged. Every smile, every gesture, every new gown was a calculated move in the relentless pursuit of the emperor's fleeting attention. A favored concubine one day could be forgotten the next, banished to a more remote wing, her future suddenly bleak. The empress, of course, rarely participated in these overt displays. Her power was a quiet, potent force. She controlled the inner workings of the harem, managing budgets, assigning duties, and even subtly influencing the emperor's choices. I observed her with a keen eye. Her calm demeanor often masked a sharp intellect, and her quiet commands carried immense weight. While the younger concubines fought with beauty and charm, the empress wielded power through wisdom, experience, and the strategic placement of her own loyal servants. My role transcended mere servitude. As eunuchs, we were unique. We moved freely between the women's quarters and the emperor's inner sanctum. We were privy to hushed conversations, tearful confessions, and triumphant whispers. We were the silent couriers of gossip, the unthreatening listeners of secrets, and sometimes the reluctant facilitators of intrigues. A eunuch might carry a message, plant an item, or even subtly influence the flow of information. Small acts that, in the delicate balance of the harem, could shift fortunes. I learned to read the subtle shifts in the women's eyes, the glint of envy when a rival received a gift, the forced cheerfulness of one whose turn with the emperor had been postponed, the quiet despair of a woman who had given birth to a daughter when a son was desperately needed. We were the recipients of both their pleas and their veiled threats, caught between their desperate hopes and the brutal realities of their existence. Despite our seemingly powerless position, we eunuchs held immense, albeit often unacknowledged, influence. We controlled access, managed daily comforts, and possessed a vast network of information. We were the living archives of the harem's history, observing every rise and fall. In a world where overt power was wielded by men and subtle influence by women, we existed in the silent, watchful space in between, privy to every secret, yet bound by our very nature to remain silent. Our survival depended on it. The routine of the harem, however meticulous, was merely a backdrop for its true purpose, the emperor. His visits were the tremors that shook our carefully ordered world. A sudden summons, a whispered command, and the entire atmosphere would shift. Excitement, fear, and desperate hope would ripple through the women. Would he favor her tonight? Would he acknowledge her son? Would he simply pass by, leaving a trail of silent despair? I saw him up close, often. As a eunuch, I prepared his chambers, delivered messages, or attended to his personal needs before and after his visits to the women. He was the sun around which our entire world revolved, Yet he was often a distant, unpredictable, and at times terrifying celestial body. His moods dictated everything. A subtle frown could send a shiver through the most confident concubine. A fleeting smile could elevate a woman to temporary glory, turning her rivals green with envy. His preferences were meticulously tracked by the head eunuchs, a complex system of whispers and signals. We knew which woman soothed his temper, which inflamed his passion, and which merely served his fleeting curiosity. These were not relationships of love, but of power, survival, and the desperate hope for offspring that could secure a woman's future. I saw the Empress, ever stoic, endure his dalliances, her influence stemming not from his affection, but from her legitimate position and political acumen. But beneath the silks and perfumes, the harem held its truly dark secrets. I witnessed the slow decay of women discarded by the emperor, their minds unraveling from isolation and disappointment. I heard the quiet screams from remote wings where a concubine might be disciplined for an imagined slight or a transgression. Some simply vanished, their absence a silent warning that resonated through every chamber.
Poisonings, though rarely proven, were whispered about in hushed tones. A rival's sudden illness, a miscarriage at a convenient moment. These were the brutal realities of a world where stakes were impossibly high, and every woman's fate hung by the thinnest thread of imperial favor. I saw the emperor's moments of tenderness too, fleeting as they were. A gentle touch, a rare laugh shared with a favored child. But these moments were overshadowed by his capacity for casual cruelty, his unpredictable rages, and the chilling indifference with which he could discard a life. He was a product of his absolute power, shaped by a system that placed him beyond reproach. My unique position allowed me to see it all: the raw ambition, the fragile beauty, the profound despair, and the terrifying caprice of ultimate authority. I saw mothers desperate to secure their sons' futures, and women driven to madness by the confinement and the constant pressure. I was a silent observer, a repository of countless truths that could never be spoken, for speaking them would mean my own swift and brutal end. In the Emperor's shadow, the price of power was paid not just by him, but by every soul trapped within the golden, treacherous walls of the harem. The quiet hum of the harem's daily life was a fragile illusion, easily shattered by a tremor from the outside world or a sudden shift in the emperor's favor. My tenure had given me insight into countless minor skirmishes, but one particular intrigue stands etched in my memory, a web of deceit so intricate it threatened to unravel the very fabric of the imperial family. It concerned the succession, a topic whispered about only in the deepest shadows. The aging empress, though politically astute, had given the emperor no living male heirs. Her rival, the ambitious consort Livia, a woman of breathtaking beauty and sharp intellect, had, however, recently borne the emperor a son, a robust, healthy boy. This shifted the balance of power dramatically. Livia's once precarious position soared, threatening the empress's long-held authority and the established order. I observed Livia's rise. She became bolder, her demands more direct. She began to subtly undermine the empress's influence, spreading rumors of the empress's declining health and dwindling fertility. The empress, usually unflappable, grew visibly anxious, her eyes frequently scanning for hidden spies. My duties often placed me near both women, and I collected snippets of conversations, veiled threats, and desperate pleas. The air was thick with tension, like a storm gathering on the horizon. One night, a servant from Livia's household approached me, trembling. She spoke of a rare, imported poison, said to be undetectable, that Livia had recently acquired. The servant, terrified for her own life, suspected it was meant for the Empress. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just palace gossip. This was treason, with a direct threat to the most powerful woman in the empire. My dilemma was agonizing. To reveal Livia's plot meant betraying a powerful faction and potentially sealing my own fate if the attempt failed, or if Livia gained full control. To remain silent meant complicity in murder, and the potential for a new, even more ruthless empress. I was a eunuch, sworn to neutrality, but my very presence made me a silent participant. I weighed the risks, the potential outcomes, and the lives at stake. I chose to act subtly. I could not directly accuse, but I could warn. During my duties, I discreetly passed information to the Empress's most trusted personal attendant. Fragments of overheard conversations, details about the imported poison, and even Livia's unusually confident demeanor. I watched as a silent counteroffensive began. The Empress's food and drink were now tasted by multiple servants, her chambers secured and Livia's every move meticulously monitored. The plot, whatever its precise form, never fully materialized. Whether Livia hesitated or the Empress's heightened vigilance deterred her, the poison remained unused, at least openly. But the attempt shattered the fragile peace of the harem. Trust evaporated. The Empress survived, but the incident left an indelible mark. Livia, though never formally accused, found her influence subtly curtailed. She understood she had been exposed, though by whom she could never be sure. And I, the silent, unassuming eunuch, bore the weight of that secret, having pulled a crucial, hidden string in the vast, dangerous puppet show of Imperial power. The attempted poisoning, though never publicly acknowledged, sent tremors through the Imperial harem. The delicate balance, once maintained by unspoken rules and veiled threats, was shattered. Consort Livia, despite having her plot thwarted, found her star dimming. The Emperor, perhaps sensing the turmoil or simply growing tired of her ambition, began to visit her less frequently. Her once radiant chambers seemed to grow colder, mirroring the decline of her influence. The Empress, meanwhile, though shaken, emerged stronger, her position reaffirmed by Livia's failed, desperate maneuver. For me, the eunuch, the aftermath was a period of heightened vigilance. My subtle warnings to the Empress's attendant had averted a disaster, but had also deepened my entanglement in the harem's dangerous games. I became even more adept at reading the silent language of the court, the shifting glances, the subtle changes in routine, the sudden quietness that often preceded a storm. My ears were always open, my observations sharp, my tongue, as ever, bound by an absolute, life-preserving silence. Life within the harem settled back into a semblance of order, but it was a more cautious, guarded order. The rivalries persisted, but they became even more clandestine, the women's ambition now tempered by a raw fear of discovery. I continued my duties, a shadow among shadows, attending to the whims of the powerful, observing their triumphs and their quiet despair. I saw young girls arrive, full of hopeful innocence, only to watch them wither under the pressure or grow hard and calculating in their pursuit of survival. My own existence, stripped of physical desires, became defined by observation and memory. I was a living archive of secrets, a silent repository of the harem's endless dramas. I had witnessed love, hatred, ambition, madness, tenderness, and cruelty, all confined within these opulent walls. I saw the human spirit contort and adapt under immense pressure, capable of both breathtaking beauty and shocking depravity. The scars of the harem were not just physical for some, but etched deeply onto the souls of all who resided within it. My own scars were invisible, born in the mind that held so many truths unspoken, in the heart that witnessed so much silent suffering. My unique position, once a source of bitter resentment, had become a strange kind of power. I was indispensable, privy to knowledge that no other could possess, yet forever outside the very world I governed. I would live out my days within these walls, a silent witness to the ebb and flow of power, the rise and fall of emperors and their consorts. The secrets I carried would die with me, a testament to the lives lived and lost in the gilded cage.
My eyes had seen it all, and these unspoken truths forever imprinted on my mind were the true enduring testament to my life as the Emperor's eunuch, the guardian of his harem's most profound and dangerous secrets.